What we're gonna be messing with a lot this week, besides doing more of the shower work, is actually doing these walls here and taking all of this down, upstairs, downstairs. If you remember, this was like an enclosed stairwell with the door on the bottom and the top. We busted those out. We're gonna change up the headers and make those openings a little bit higher, as well as, now this is only planned a little bit in my mind, so we'll see how this progresses, but we're gonna be taking out this stud, a few of these, and then kind of just leaving this open. I'll keep this post here because this is load bearing. It goes for this whole beam here. And it has a light switch in here. So I want to keep the light switch here. I want to keep the outlet down here, which is running from up here. Now there isn't much room in this front entryway, which is where you're at. So you're outside right now looking in. When you first walk in, you have this whole closed wall here, and then the stairwell with the door here closed off again. And demo day, we removed the paneling here, but what we're gonna do, again, keep the post here because there's a light switch. I don't feel like rerouting stuff to that extent quite yet. And then I'm gonna cut the remaining of these down and use as just a handrail here. I think I'm actually gonna keep the studs in place, just put a nice little handrail on top or like some kind of sill, paint them up or even sand and stain. I'm not sure how the original 2x4s would really look like that, but again, a lot more to figure out. This week is really about getting these cut down, framed up, and ready to be designed. And then yeah, the rest of this week is a lot of electrical, small fixes. I'm gonna be painting some of the exterior trim. This light is bright. I got the door a little bit earlier today, a lot more straightened out. So I've insulated it. It slides like a beauty right now. All the insulation in these walls have pretty much been updated with R15. Yeah, and here we got the fireplace wall here. We are almost ready to go for sheetrock, which is really exciting. Once the sheetrock's on, it's really just painting, flooring, and we're off to the races. I'm going to open up the stairwell here by taking this completely out, this jack stud, and cutting this to be the new jack stud, so that'll give me an extra 1.5 inches out of this doorway. And then I'm gonna raise this 1.5 inches so it's level with that beam there. Now, this is a supporting wall. This is a load-bearing wall, but for one, you have the correct height there with this beam. Someone put that in there at some point. But also, there's no pressure right here. I can't really get the angle on camera probably, but you can completely see through that and this one as well. So there's actually no pressure really coming from the ceiling onto these jack studs anyways. But what I'm also gonna do is I'm gonna insert a piece of plywood so it'll actually be more beefy than what's currently here. So I have my two 4.5-inch pieces of 2x6, or what was 2x6, and I'm gonna sandwich this plywood in between to make this one solid piece. Before I do that, I'm going to go ahead and get my sill here for my angled 2x4s that I cut, and a few other things going, so whenever I turn this air compressor on, I can just start nailing away and building everything back, and that way my header up here isn't just sitting vacant or missing and having the floor joist supported by nothing. So I want to rebuild it really quick. I'm gonna get everything prepped and then start nailing away. Well, my angle here is actually going to be 35 degrees. So I'm gonna cut my wood 35 degrees. And the cool thing about this skill saw is that it actually has a 35-degree adjustment here. So I set it to 35 degrees. You can see it's super tilted, and that'll give me my cut. There's more than one way to tell if you have a load-bearing wall. For one, my joists run parallel with this wall, so that's a good indicator there. And there's no beams or cross bracing above it to show that it would not be a load-bearing wall. But also, if you're cutting through a stud with a reciprocating saw and it starts to bind, right? The blade gets stuck in the wall, in the stud, then there's also a good chance that there's a lot of pressure or load bearing down on that stud. All of these studs that I cut now, no pressure was on it, and I can actually line them up. See, it's not on, and now I can line it right back up. If there is pressure, this top part would be falling past this bottom one. And even if it's just a little bit, but right now it's not even a smidge. Again, I already know this is non-load bearing, but even still, look at that. It's not even rubbing. I'm also going to keep these lower portions here just so I don't fall off until I figure out what I'm really going to be doing here. If this is your first video joining me in the series, I do have asbestos in my popcorn ceilings. I am going to have that scraped here before long, but I need some of this paneling so I can use it in other parts of the house. But what I'm doing is just spraying some soapy water along there, and then as I rip off that trim in these walls, I'm going to like mist the air a little bit more. Where's the mist setting? Just kind of mist it, and so when all that dust starts flying around, the mist grabs it and makes it fall to the ground, and then I'll clean it up eventually with like a wet rag, and that way it keeps the asbestos out of the air. Hoping to get the professional scrapers in here next weekend. Another way you could tell if a wall is load bearing or not is to check out your door headers. If it looks like this, it's most likely not going to be load bearing. Usually you have a huge header up top that could really support the weight of the load. Check out, okay, these are a little strange, but this is definitely a load bearing wall right here. That is like more of a full header. Here's an exterior wall. Full header. Full header, full header on the exterior walls, which are definitely load bearing. They even used to have a door here with a big old header right there. So that's funky. This is a load bearing wall. Maybe because the doors are so small, I don't know. But that is not a load bearing wall because it runs parallel with the joist, the ceiling joist, same as this wall here. Hey,
hi.
What you doing?
Taking nails out.
Nice work. Look at that close up. Oh, clean. Look at that nail.
Get this nail out of here.
Oh. Before I head over to the main project for today, check out the recessed lights that we just did here. It looks absolutely amazing despite how ugly the walls are and everything, but that's just gonna so good. And I just did the kitchen too. I already had the wires in there, but I actually plugged in the lights today. And that looks, I mean, it's just bright, still extremely dirty and nasty, but you get the point of what it's gonna look like. This fireplace room, I have it all wired, but I don't have the lights actually plugged in or hooked up to the main power yet. Here we go, baby. The color is a little bit different because this is a different paneling than this stuff. There was like four different types of wood paneling. There's actually white in there. So, but that's fine because I'm gonna paint all this. And most of the lines actually sync up, which was luck. That one doesn't. These two don't, I guess. But then most of these, like, I guess they don't all, but look at that. Some of it does. And it doesn't matter because I'm gonna have a 1x2 or something like that that cases this entire thing down here, so it'll be, you know, you won't see that seam anywhere. I am about to wrap it up for today. One thing I just did though is I took the light switch off this post over here and I moved it against the wall over there. I didn't install the switch, but I have the wires there, so it's ready for the switch. And it's a 3-way switch, so until I get the light switch actually hooked up, this light will not turn on even if the breaker's on. I'm just gonna remove the rest of this stuff here today and then call it a day. Tomorrow we have a bunch of electrical and I don't know, more of this stair stuff coming. So what sucks is there's like a 1x6 on top of these plates, like I said earlier, holding in the sheetrock. So if I pull that down, it's gonna pull off a big chunk of that sheetrock. So I gotta figure this out. My 2 plates, and then you can see the 1x right there with the sheetrock nail sticking through it. You can see it's kind of hollow on this side. I have a joist running alongside of it, but you can see the empty gap. And over there is a 1x6. So it would rip off quite a bit of that sheetrock. Well, that escalated quickly, but what are you gonna do? Probably just rip out this whole section of sheetrock and then just put one giant panel instead of a couple of strips, you know? All right, baby, we are back. It's Friday now. I'm really excited because I'm pretty exhausted and my knee is super swollen. I don't know why it gets like that. I had an MRI on it like 4 or 5 years ago and nothing came up from it. Maybe even longer than that. Nobody knows. They have to stick microscopes in it or I don't know, cameras in it, I guess. Not microscopes. Anyway, I'm really excited about the weekend. Although every time the weekend hits, I'm really excited to come back. It's this real love-hate relationship with this house. As I was walking in today, if you recall yesterday, I was cutting up the stair sill, the whole wall there. Well, when I was in the attic, cutting up some more of that sill where the top plate was, the whole beam fell right on the stairs and it cracked one of the steps. Right here. Got a good crack in it. It must have hit like right on the corner. These are actually really pretty nice steps. The rest of today is gonna be a lot of light electrical work. Light as in like light workload, not light as in lights, but actually a little bit of light work too. A lot of electrical work. I may start plumbing up some of the washer unit area, things like that. Here's the deal. All the light switch and outlet boxes like this were in paneling, right? Really thin 1/8 inch paneling. So they barely had to stick out 1/8 of an inch. Well, sheetrock is 1/2 inch. So I need to bring this box out just a smidge so that way it'll be flush with the new sheetrock. And it'll need to be like that on every single outlet and light switch. And I've actually already done it on a few of them, so you can see here, it's out 1/2 inch. So when this sheetrock comes in, this one will be good. It's not too difficult, just a little tedious. Now these boxes have these nice lines right here. And it says 1/2 inch is the middle line. Outside this door, there is no exterior light on the back porch. There is some downstairs and in the front and side, but none on the back porch. Again, there wasn't even a door here for this back porch. I have a few outlets running across this wall, so I'm bringing power from an outlet into this light switch, and then to this light switch to a light box that I'm gonna put somewhere up here, and so that way I can put in a little sconce or something like that out there. Power coming in, power running to some remaining outlets down the channel, and then power going to the light switch, or to the actual light itself. Got a little cloud coverage. Now I'm just finishing up this little hole that I made above the stairwell from last week. I'm framing it so they can add some sheetrock in there, and there will actually be something to attach the sheetrock to on this end. So I got a 2x4 running all the way down pretty much, and then a 2x8 just kind of bridging the gap between the joists. This is a metal tub, by the way. That wraps it up for this video. Thanks for following along on this journey, and we'll see you in a few days where we'll be tackling the 2 bathroom rebuilds. Subscribe so you don't miss out. The kids are on a freaking tear today, so I'm gonna take them to Lowe's myself. You ready, buddy? Have fun on your run.